Hi, everyone. I'm James Milan. Welcome to this town hall update. I am joined by our town manager, Adam Chapdelaine. Hello, Adam.
Hey, James.
Um, Adam, I know that there are going to be some changes coming up to the intersection at Mass Ave, Appleton Street, and Appleton Place. We'll talk about that in a minute. First, let's get to, I think, what's been probably front and center on the biggest pile on your plate, perhaps, for a while now, and that is ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act, and how to spend the approximately 35 million in funds that Arlington has been awarded through that program. So, give us an update. Where are we at on the framework?
Absolutely. And thank you for that prompt. It's definitely been front and center on my plate over the past, probably, I would say, past couple months. And I've been talking to a few colleagues in neighboring and nearby communities recently. And that seems to be the norm for local government managers and mayors, that it's a good thing, right? Having money that
Right,
you
under the
can
good
spend.
problem to have
It's like having six
category,
pitchers
right?
coming out of spring training, right? Like it's a good problem to have. But so we've been going through an iterative process. Quick recap: starting in the beginning of August, releasing an initial framework and soliciting public comment. Then in early September, doing a virtual town forum to be able to directly hear feedback and comment from the public. Then extending the comment period an additional, I believe, 10 days at that point towards the end of September. Having now engaged with the select board twice on the framework and continuing to make updates based on the feedback both received from the public as well as from the board. And now we're scheduled to go back before the select board on October 25th, so this upcoming Monday, to provide yet another update on the framework. And what I hope to achieve on Monday is endorsement from the board on moving forward with implementing certain portions of the framework, and then also endorsement for the allocations and the categories of some portions of the framework that still need further detail to be built out. And to give just two examples of that without diving into all the detail, the small business assistance and the tenant assistance programs, we're ready for that money to hit the streets. The need is out there. Jenny Raitt and her team in planning and community development have done a great job outlining what that plan would look like or what those programs would look like. So on Monday, I plan on saying to the select board, please endorse this program and expenditure so we can hit the ground running. Conversely, and there'll be some other things that we treat like that. Conversely, things like the affordable housing allocation, the water and sewer allocation, the parks and open spaces allocation, and a few others, what I want to say is, or what I want to ask for is the select board to endorse the amount we're proposing within each of those categories, with an understanding that we're going to put some more details together, build out a program, knowing that they support the level of expenditure, and then come back at a future meeting for endorsement of an actual detailed program. Some will take longer than others. I think water and sewer we can move quite quickly on because we know the universe of things we'd like to invest in. But when the board endorses a number, I can go back to Public Works and the director, Mike Rademacher, and say, here's your number. Let's prioritize what we want to get done. Something like affordable housing will likely take a little bit longer. So we're trying to move both responsibly and expeditiously, and I hope we're striking that balance. The only other additional thing I'll add is since the last board meeting, which was on a Wednesday, last Wednesday, because of the Indigenous Peoples Day holiday, we didn't meet on a Monday. We've made further updates. We have further increased premium pay for town and school workers. I'm going to be proposing to adding a line for premium pay for private sector workers who were deemed essential during the pandemic, so that employers would be able to apply for grants from this ARPA funding to provide premium pay to their employees who reported in person to work during the pandemic. We have added, or I have added, a food security reserve to make sure that we're putting aside enough money for food security. And to accomplish that, I have had to reduce some of the other larger areas of investment to balance it all out. But I'm trying to continue, again, in an iterative manner, find a framework that balances the many needs and ultimately come up with a compromise that we think moves the community forward.
Great. It is a substantial amount of money and a lot of big decisions to be made. So, as you say, some of that will take time, and it should. So,
Yeah.
good luck with that. Let's talk about the intersection I mentioned earlier, and this is just on the Arlington side of Arlington Heights, basically on the center side of Arlington Heights, an intersection with multiple streets coming into it. We're talking about Mass Ave, Appleton Street, Appleton Place. The Addison Middle School is right near there as well. People will have noticed that there have been changes in shifting in the traffic pattern for certain hours, but there are more permanent changes envisioned, I assume. So why don't you give us an update on where that stands?
Absolutely. So I think as members of the public or residents of town know, there has been tragedy and injury at that intersection. So the town has undertaken efforts to make short-term improvements to the intersection, and we're going to continue to pursue longer-term improvements, more permanent improvements to the intersection. And over the past several board meetings, there has been debate and discourse about what the right short-term solution is. And as I think we see with many transportation projects, there is a sort of a push and pull between bike and pedestrian accommodations and parking for local businesses. So there had been a proposal brought forth which would have reduced a certain amount of parking spaces and provided bike lanes both eastbound and westbound. And the board actually was gridlocked on that issue because one member needed to recuse themselves based on a conflict with one of the businesses. So what had been adopted 2 meetings ago were improvements that would improve the safety of the intersection, but without a dedicated bike lane, either eastbound or westbound, which was quite upsetting to some advocates for bicycle safety. A member of the select board reached out to me in immediate follow-up to that meeting, expressing an interest in pursuing a potential hybrid option, which would provide further bike accommodations, but retain a certain number of parking spaces, not all of them, but some parking spaces most close to the business strip in the area. So Mike Rademacher, Dan Amstutz from the planning department began working immediately with the private engineer that we had hired to draw the improvements up in the first place. And they came up with a hybrid solution that provided all the same safety improvements of a bump out coming down from Appleton Place, bollards in the middle of the road to somewhat control the left turn from Mass Ave onto Appleton Street, but also being able to put in an eastbound bike lane. Not a westbound bike lane, but an eastbound bike lane, which provides a bike lane through what we would call the conflict zone of bicycles coming eastbound and vehicles turning left off Mass Ave onto Appleton Street. And ultimately, it was presented to the board last Wednesday, and the board 4-0 agreed that it was a compromise that enhanced safety while acknowledging the parking needs of the local business district. So that was approved, and we've quickly lined up the painting contractor who will has I think started grinding out some of the old pavement markings, and we hope to get the new pavement markings on the ground within the next 4 to 5 days. I think we'll be releasing a schedule later today, but I know Mike Rademacher is right on top of this painting contractor to get them in here as soon as possible to get the work done. So I think it's an exciting improvement. Change is hard. Change can be hard for any of us. That's the human condition. But I think this is a good step forward in improving safety. And we're now taking the next steps to hire a designer yet again to begin working with the design review committee to plan and program for permanent improvements in the future. So we're taking this matter very seriously. And in the coming days, residents of Arlington are likely to see the improvements implemented.
All right. Well, we thank you for that, and particularly for teasing out, all of the different compelling and legitimate interests that you need to balance in making these kinds of decisions. So, as usual, not simple work that you're doing, but thanks for laying out the process by which you have arrived at where we are today and what we will be seeing shortly. Anything that we have missed, Adam, that we should mention?
I think that covers it for today, but yeah, there's always something happening that I'm sure I've missed, but I think that was those are some of the bigger things happening in town this week.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. I have been speaking with our town manager, Adam Chapdelaine. I am James Milan. We appreciate Adam's time as always, and we also appreciate yours. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.